What's up guys, my name is Ace, and in today's video we're going to be having a deep look at the audio in Black Ops Cold War. The first thing we're going to be looking at is which audio setting in-game is best for picking up on footstep sounds. Then we're going to be having a look at how loud footstep sounds actually are in various situations with various movement types. And then of course we're going to be comparing that to the Ninja perk to see just how effective that perk is. So in this video, there's going to be a lot of sections where we're actually listening to the gameplay audio and trying to find those little differences. And as a result, if you have the opportunity, I'd recommend putting on a headset or some earbuds or just cranking up your volume a little bit while watching this video. And let's start the video off with the different in-game audio mixes. And these can be found in the settings, obviously in the audio tab. And we have 8 different options in Cold War. And I think the best thing to do here is just to play clips back to back to back in a row, changing up my audio setting each time in the exact same sort of situation. I want you to pay close attention at each one of these clips the first moment you pick up on a footstep sound, and then also you want to try and pay attention to the overall volume of the footstep sound and how distinct that footstep sound is. So I'm just going to play through all of the different mixes in a row here, and you guys can essentially decide for yourself which one sounds best to you. Alright, so there you have it. I just wanted to share my thoughts on this. This is going to come down to preference for a lot of people. For me, the last 3, the ones that have boost in the name, these ones are all a little bit louder than the other ones. And I can actually see this in the waveform of my editing software as well. They are definitely a little bit louder, but this also means they're going to be amplifying all of the other sounds like explosions and gunfire. But when it comes to my opinion on the best audio setting, there are 2 that really stood out to me. The first one is just the default Treyarch mix. And the second one is the high boost option. I found the super bass boost and the regular bass boost. I find those ones, they're just boosting explosions and gunfire audio way too much. But the high boost can often pick up those footstep sounds while all that action is going on around you still. And then there's just something about the Treyarch mix that I feel has a really good balance. And this is why my preferred setting is actually the default. It's the Treyarch mix. So for the rest of this video where we're testing all of the other audio types, just keep in mind this is using the Treyarch mix setting. And let's get into the next little test that I did, and this is an occlusion test. This is how loud are footsteps on the other side of a cinder block wall, for instance. Does it really dampen those footstep sounds a lot, or not so much? Can you still hear footstep sounds clearly through walls? So in this situation here, I'm just going to have my dummy account sprint across this line here while I'm on the other side of this wall. And while you won't be able to see that person moving, just have a listen and see how loud that footstep audio is. Keeping in mind, I'm not boosting or adjusting any of this audio at all compared to the previous tests that I already showed you. So as you can tell, footstep audio is quite loud through a cinder block wall. Now let's try a slightly different situation. In this situation, I'm going to be standing still in this spot here, and the enemy is going to be running through the plane. And just have a listen to see how well you can hear that enemy and their exact location in the plane at any given time, even though you can't see them. I don't know about you guys, but I was able to pinpoint that player's location pretty accurately as he passed through the plane, and I find that to be pretty impressive. I was standing fairly far back from that plane, and at least in a quiet environment here where there aren't a lot of gunshots and explosions, I can pinpoint that player's location pretty well. So that's pretty much it for the occlusion tests. Now let's move into the different stances, the distance that you're able to hear footsteps, and also the comparison against Ninja. We're going to be doing it all at once here. It's just the way that it makes most sense in my head to organize it. And let's start it off with sprinting audio. We're going to be starting with the enemy at 50 meters away. That's the exact distance to that enemy character in this situation. And the first clip I'm going to be playing, the enemy is going to be sprinting without Ninja. Then right after that, there's going to be a clip of them sprinting with Ninja. Have a listen. So there's a few things to unpack here. First up, without Ninja, you can hear enemy footsteps at 50 meters if they're sprinting. Now, it is going to be fairly faint, and to be fair, in a real game environment where there is gunshots and explosions, you're probably not going to be hearing those footsteps. But if it's a really quiet search and destroy situation, for instance, maybe like a 1v1, yeah, you can hear people sprinting at 50 meters. However, I found that sound really seems to get amplified at around 20 meters. That's where things really ramped up when the enemy wasn't using Ninja, and it really started to get loud and distinct to the point where you would quite easily hear that over some gunfire and explosions. And that's also right around the point that I first picked up the footstep audio when the enemy was using Ninja. It's obviously much quieter than when they weren't using Ninja. However, right around 20 meters is where the footsteps started to become audible when the enemy had Ninja. So again, in the middle of a respawn game mode, for instance, even if the enemy's sprinting with Ninja and they get within 20 meters of you, there's a good chance you're still not going to be hearing them. But in a quiet search and destroy situation, for instance, there is some potential to be sound whoring somebody that's using Ninja if they're sprinting within about 20 meters of you. Now, moving on to the next test, this is going to be with the enemy running without sprinting. So they're going to be moving as fast as they can without aiming down sight while standing and without sprinting. And we'll do it the same way. The first clip will be without Ninja, and in the second clip, the enemy will have Ninja equipped. Have a listen. When it comes to this one, I was honestly a little bit blown away at just how loud the enemy footsteps were and the distance at which I was able to hear them when they weren't using Ninja, even though they weren't sprinting. I consider those footsteps to still be very loud, and in a quiet environment, I could still clearly hear them at 50 meters, which is crazy to me. That seems way higher than we're used to in Call of Duty. As for when the enemy had Ninja equipped, it actually sounded pretty similar to when they were sprinting. So it is still going to be helping you quite a bit, but just know your footsteps are definitely not dead silent while using Ninja in this game if you're sprinting or just running. But now let's move into crouch walking, which in Call of Duty is often one of the greatest methods of approaching a situation quietly, with or without a perk to dampen your footstep audio. Let's have a listen to this one. So the first thing I noticed in this comparison here is Ninja doesn't appear to be doing anything for you when you're crouch walking. The distance at which you're able to hear the footsteps, as well as the volume of those footsteps, was exactly the same with or without Ninja equipped. Now, if you read the description of Ninja, that actually kind of makes sense, because in the description it just says that you sprint more quietly, but we now also know that you run more quietly as well, even if you aren't sprinting, but that doesn't appear to apply to crouching at all. It's also worth mentioning that I noticed the distance where you can really start to hear those footsteps while crouch walking is pretty much exactly 10 meters. So it does really cut that distance down a lot, and it's a pretty effective method for approaching someone quietly, just as we would expect. Just know, crouch walking still doesn't make you dead silent. And therefore, again, in a really quiet situation, if you're trying to approach somebody that's sitting in a corner, for instance, there is a chance they'll still hear you coming. But finally, I have one more comparison to look at because there's another method that people often use for having quieter footsteps while moving around the map, and this is aim down sight walking, because this slows your movement speed down, and in most Call of Duty games, this makes your footsteps a lot quieter. So, same idea again with the two clips. Let's have a listen. Now, with this one, without Ninja, I could hear those footsteps at about 30 meters initially, although they were pretty faint at 30 meters. But that is still a pretty good distance at being able to hear enemy footstep audio, and as the enemy got quite close, those footsteps got loud enough that I would say you could definitely hear them, even in a relatively hectic environment. However, with Ninja, it clearly is still working for you here, so it seems like as long as your character model is standing, Ninja will be working for you. You don't have to be sprinting, you just have to be standing. However, if you're crouched, then Ninja doesn't really do anything to your footstep audio. So, putting this all together, if you are in a situation where you don't have Ninja equipped and you want to be as quiet as possible while approaching a situation, crouch walking is definitely the best way to go, followed by aim down sight walking. But just keep in mind, your footsteps will be fairly loud as you get close to enemies while aim down sight walking. And then if you're sprinting or running, just expect that anybody that has a headset and half a brain will be hearing you if you get anywhere within about 20 meters of them, and they might even be able to pick up your footsteps even farther away than that. Also, something really interesting I found out here, if you are using Ninja, you're actually quieter by standing and aim down sight walking rather than crouch walking to approach your target. And I did want to just play the clips back to back here so you guys can hear this for yourself. In both of these clips, the enemy has Ninja equipped. First one is crouch walking, second one is aim down sight walking. So yeah, definitely something to be aware of if you are using Ninja and trying to be as quiet as possible while approaching situations. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for the breakdown. Now I just wanted to quickly share my opinion on the current state of footstep audio and how it's balanced with Ninja in Cold War. And I've got to say, I think the footstep audio without Ninja is a little bit too loud, or at least the distance at which you can hear those footsteps is too far. Maybe the volume is okay, it's more so the distance that I have a bit of an issue with. And I feel like this is one of the reasons that at least in the higher levels of play, if you're in more skilled lobbies where basically everybody in the lobby has a headset, you essentially have to run Ninja if you want to compete. It has become a complete crutch in this game, and don't get me wrong, I am really happy that Ninja exists. That was one of my big complaints with last year's Call of Duty, is there was no permanent dead silence or Ninja that you could use. So I love that Ninja's there, and it allows us to run around a lot more freely without the fear of people knowing exactly where our location is through sound alone. But I just feel the discrepancy between having Ninja and not having Ninja is currently too high. So I feel like if they cut down the base audio a little bit, or the distances at which you can hear those footsteps, then perhaps Ninja could be at least a little bit less of a crutch while still being a very useful perk, especially for non-respawn modes like Search and Destroy. Like I said, I'm not complaining because I'm happy that we just have Ninja in the first place. But yeah, that's my opinion on that, and this is where I want to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. What do you think of the current state of footstep audio and how it's balanced with Ninja in Cold War? Are you pretty happy with it as it is, or do you think some adjustments would be nice? Just let me know those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.